Okay, let me show you what I have in mind. I want to build some kind of outdoor workbench slash blacksmith vise which I can carry around with the forklift. It should be built out of cold rolled steel and it should be very heavy and durable, so I want to put a thick metal plate on top. It should have 3 legs so it does not wobble, and of course some kind of heavy duty post vise. The idea behind all of this is sometimes I have very dirty or smoky and stinky works, or I have to do some de-rusting works and I don't want to have all the dirt and fumes inside the workshop, so I want to work as much as possible outside, of course, and so I decided to make some kind of heavy-duty blacksmith working station to do such works outside. Okay, so let's take a look what we have on stock. Some angle iron, some heavy U-beam. Okay, so this will be probably the post vise itself. Some pipes, good for the legs. Oh, this is heavy. Yeah, this is good for the jaws, I think. And here I have a thick metal plate. I think it's a hardox, 15mm hardox. So perfect material for this job. Okay, so I have taken some of the material outside now. Here are the pipes for the legs, and here is the metal plate. It's 15mm hardox steel, so it's very hefty and good for what I have in mind. To get the most out of the material, I decided to weld these 2 pipes together and then cut all the 3 legs out of it. And I am using my stick welder for this job. Yeah, not perfect, but it will do. I got these pipes for free, and as a Jeep Charlie I want to use what I have. Yes, I think after painting nobody will know. Oh shit, too big. I let the legs flare out a little bit, just by about 5 degrees, and I don't bother to cut a 5-degree angle onto the pipes, because yes, I can fill this gap with my flux core welder. As you see, I managed to get the gaps closed with my flux core welder. Now I will grind the welds so they look nicer, and it's super sturdy already, but there will be some bracings here because I need something to step onto anyway. Wow, that thing weighs a ton already. It is raining, so I have to work inside today. What's next? The next step is to cut the bracings here between the legs. The stretchers are tacked in place now and ready to get welded up. And by the way, if you are crazy like me, welding on the forks of the forklift, never do this directly on the forks. So I always use some kind of isolation in between, because the chances are high you're frying the electronics of the forklift if you're welding directly on the machine. So let's get to the welding job. Yes, I think a little bit of grinding and this looks good. So once you get used to it, you can achieve really good results with these very cheap flux core welders. So usually I go over with a flap disc and I grind the welds, and I think that's fine, at least for this application. I don't think it is necessary, but since I have some material left, I will make some reinforcement bars here underneath. Yeah, that's what I'm doing next. Here it is, and I think I don't want to bore you with watching me welding this stuff up, so I will weld it and I'll be back. The stand is pretty much done for the moment, so the next step is to build the post vise itself. Yeah, so without further ado, let's go full steam ahead and build a vise. I have made a mock-up, cardboard, a mock-up of a post vise. Here is the pivot point, the jaws, some mounting flanges, mounting brackets, and what I want to do is I want to add some kind of guide rails on either side, so everything stays square. About here I want to have the handle and the spindle with the threaded rod. It's a 20mm threaded rod, so there will be a nut inside this part here and some kind of bearing, or I don't know yet, here in the front. Okay, so for me the proportions are right, and I think let's go to work then. Here we go. One man's trash is the other man's treasure. So I've cut the majority of the parts for the post vise. Some leftover pieces. Here are the jaws. Oh, hot. These are pieces for the pivot point, as well as this one. Okay, here are the rails, left and the right guide rail, and the two uprights. Okay, so it's time for assembly. I'm starting with drilling the holes for the threaded rod. Oh yeah, I've burned my machine, but not to worry, I had one in spare. Yeah, the holes for the all thread are drilled and deburred with a file. Some of them are bigger because I need to have some wiggle room for the rod. It's amazing how well these very cheap hole saws are doing. I have them for many years and I sharpen them from time to time. They work fine. Amazing, amazing. I paid maybe 25 euros for this whole set. And yeah, game over for this one. This is no rocket science, but let me explain what I'm doing here. So as you see, I clamped the two vise parts firmly to my welding table, so everything is flat. Here is my hinge. The first half of the hinge part is already welded in place, and here are my two pivot points. These are M10 bolts, and now I want to weld the second half of the hinge to this part of the vise. And yeah, by the way, I painted the stand already. And a quick side note here, I put no end caps onto the pipes. That's on purpose because I want to fill the pipes with concrete at some point in the future, so to make the thing heavier as it is already. Yeah, that's the reason why there are no end caps on the pipes yet. The mounting brackets or mounting flanges are done. Now it's time for the guide rails. Some changes on the fly. I decided to cut all the corners. That's nicer on the touch. I don't want the vise to jam, of course. That's why I put some shim here in between, so I have a little bit of slack here. I tacked the pieces in place, and of course before I weld it completely up, I check if it is working. I left a little bit of a gap at the bottom, 2 washers, and I tacked the 2 jaws together so they stay aligned. And the reason why I'm doing this is I want to close the vise just on the very edge, here, so when I try to clamp some thin sheet metal, it will press firmly. Now it's just a matter of aligning everything and weld it all up. Next step is to close the box, so to speak, so to make the vise even stronger. And therefore I have these pieces here, which one goes here and one goes to the other side. Okay, that's the next welding job. So before I close it all up, here you can see the fixed part of the vise, which is mounted to the stand, and in this part will be the nut, which is just these 2 hex nuts and some chunks of steel welded to them, and they should look like this. Oh, it's hot, it's hot. Okay, so the nut cannot rotate, and it has wiggle room inside this box, and this is so this will be the next welds I want to do. And now comes the fun part. Grinding, grinding, grinding. And I'm definitely not going crazy with the grinding on this one, but it obviously looks much more professional. Here comes the Schmoo, or as we say in German, Schmatze. Here are the parts for the spindle. My threaded rod with 2 nuts jammed together and a chamfer, because I want to weld this nut to the out thread. Here are handles, a piece of round stock, some hex nuts, some washers, and a piece of pipe. You will see later what this is good for. So let's get started. This end is fixed now to the threaded rod. I took a little bit of a different approach on the handle design, because to be honest, I don't like this design of a handle. I prefer this one. It has some kind of Titanic look. Yes, here it is. The mounting holes are drilled, so the vise stand is finished, as well as the vise itself. So here is the way how it's supposed to be. Here's the handle, a couple of washers to act as a thrust bearing. Here are 2 nuts jammed together, and here inside is the piece of pipe, because otherwise I cannot reach inside with my tool here. And now it's time to mount this thing to this thing. And yes, I put tons of grease everywhere. Okay, here it is. It's done. As you see, I have added a rubber bellow to protect the out thread, and it keeps the dirt away from the grease. It's running absolutely fine, and I also added a piece of galvanized steel to put my welding clamp, my ground clamp, onto, so the ground clamp does not interfere with the tabletop. Yes, nothing else to say. It's done. It works as expected, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Now there's only one thing left. Thanks for watching.